Yo YouTube! This is a video for Tuesday the 31st of October, but full disclosure, right now it's the morning of the night before. Sorry, the morning after the night before. I'll explain what happened yesterday and as to why I'm doing a video now and not last night. So let's go back, let's rewind in time 24 hours. And I had a job booked in yesterday morning from the night before, going from Boston to Preston with a shipper that I've used a lot before, who I like, and it was me taking 3 pallets and another van was taking another 3 pallets. And my pickup time was 8:40, so I got to the pickup point about 8:30 and arrived just as the van had loaded up, and then I got loaded up with my 3 pallets. I got them strapped down, took a photo. I might have said this before, but I'll say it again. When I have palletized stuff, if there's any labels on the pallets, on the load, I will take a photo of the label and also add that as part of my photo on CX. So I've got a photo of us strapping it, what I've strapped down, showing an overview about what I've got on board. Then I'll take a close-up photo of any label and send it on as well, so that if there's any question of what I've got on board, the shipper can just look on CX if I'm en route. It's very rarely is needed, but if it is needed, it just saves everyone a little bit of time in an emergency situation. So I made my way to Preston. It was raining yesterday. Wasn't great weather, and it's about just over a 3-hour journey, and quite uneventful. Just made it there quite easily. I was listening to my YouTube videos. Not mine, so I used to listen to YouTube videos from other people, and just mind my own business, really. Just how I like it. So I got to Preston, got offloaded pretty quickly on the semi pod. Then I sat in the yard and I was trying to find another job. And I quite like being sort of Preston way. So Preston is quite close to Blackburn and Burnley and Bolton. I like that aspect, that area of the country. Also, I've noticed, I haven't really utilised it yet, but I've noticed that whenever I've been driving past Leeds and Sheffield, which I've done a lot recently, there's always seems to be quite a lot of jobs coming out of that area. I never end up there. So one day I want to end up there and see what the work's like. So I did get a job, and it was going from Blackburn, which was about half an hour from where I was, to Stockport. So just a small job. I put on, for a long wheelbase job, I put on £60, and I arrived at Blackburn and was loaded up by 3 minutes past 2. Just trying to remember what I had on there. Oh, I know. This was the awkward one, wasn't it? Yes. So I'll tell you about this one. This is an example of where I was disappointed with the shipper. So let me tell you the whole story. Obviously, I won't mention the shipper's name, but at the end I'll tell you why I think the problem arose. So I got called, offered the job. It was quite a quick conversation. I really must remember to ask the shipper what it is that I'm taking, but I always tend to forget, particularly when I'm in the middle of the day, because I'm always quite keen not to spoil the job, because I want the job and they've run through, and I'm always very grateful for having the job. but it doesn't really help me sometimes. So I made my way to Blackburn, and I had a sort of manufacturing unit that I had to go to, and it was really obvious. It's quite a big site. It's really obvious. I went into the gate, went to dispatch. I thought it was already really well signed. I went to dispatch, and I went inside to the transport office and said I've got a load to take to this engineering firm, and I just met with blank faces. And then they said, "What are you taking?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. I know I'm going to this place." And they said, "Well, if you don't know, they said to me, if you don't know what you're taking, how are we meant to know?" So at this point, they were being quite off with me, I would say. Um, yeah, maybe they were reasonable, but I don't know. In my experience, it's quite common that I'm not told what I'm taking. I'm just given an address to turn up to, an address to go to, and they know what size van I've got. So it's not, to be fair to me, it's not common that a driver actually knows what the load is. Often the paperwork is collected at the collection site. Anyway, so I gave my phone, they looked through my phone. I didn't really want to give them my phone, they kind of asked for it. And they looked through all the details, they couldn't help me. And they said, because I was going to an engineering place, maybe it was a piece of machinery. So they said if I went to the engineering department, that they might know. And by this point, they were much more. I was smiley and helpful and friendly, and they were then now being smiley, helpful and friendly. So by the time we left, we kind of had a little joke saying, "I might see you later. Yeah, thanks for your help." So it didn't deteriorate, but it was a bit frustrating at the start. But just being given that blanked, well, we can't help you, go away type approach. So I had to try and find the engineering. So I went across the yard to the other side, which is where they told me to go, and there were some people inside the building, but there's no bell. I opened a door, which was open, and just tentatively walked inside and shouted out, "Hello, hello." And then I saw a guy walk past, but he had headphones on, like do you mean headphones? Headphones on, and he was tending to the machinery which was on and quite noisy. And he didn't see me, he couldn't hear me. I wasn't going to walk all the way to the factory. So I didn't know what to do. So I came back out, got in my van, went off out of the gate, round to the next gate, which was going to be the main offices. It was the same building that I was just gone to, but it was just around the corner. And I happened to see someone coming out, and I asked them where I could go to engineering, and they directed me to the front entrance. So at this point, I thought, "Oh, excellent, we're getting somewhere now." So I got to the front entrance and rang the bell. And there were people in the office, but no one answered the bell, front door bell. And then a guy came to the door from downstairs, from upstairs, came downstairs, came to the front door, opened the door, and I said, "Oh, I thought he was going to, I thought he was going to open the door for me from the bell, but no, he was just walking out the building. He walked off." I was thinking, "Oh, can I?" And he just pointed me to go inside. And I said, "I'm looking for engineering." And so I got inside to the reception area, and then got to the right door. There's a door towards the engineering department, but that was locked, obviously. So I was at the window, looking at the window and I could look through. And through another door, there was a guy walking past. And I sort of waved, and he saw me and came to the door. And then I said, "I'm looking for engineering." He said, "Oh, that's here." So I was now at the right place. So I explained that I was here to collect an item to go to this other engineering place. And he had no idea what I was there for. He said, "Do you know what you're collecting?" I said, "No, I don't, sorry. I can call my boss though and find out." So he was really helpful. He was a really good guy. He was really trying to help me, thinking about what it was. And we had a discussion. He said, "There's a couple of machines that we've got that need to go back." And they were going to the place that I was going to, but we didn't know which machine it was. So I rang the shipper at this point, and I said, "Can you tell me what I'm taking in my van?" And the first guy, the guy that gave me the job, didn't answer the phone this time. It was another guy. And he said, I don't know, I'll get back to you. So I thought, fair enough, that's what I'd expect you to say. You don't know, I'll hang on here and you get back to me. So I waited for about 3 minutes. I'll call back, and the guy said, oh, I've put a number on your system for you to call, and a contact name. Now at this point, I was a bit disappointed by that. And I said, oh, do you want me to call them? He said, yes. And so basically, all he'd done is found a contact name and number, put it on the system, check system, and then wanted me to follow it up. So I must say that was not very impressive. And if it wasn't for the person that I was... See, the thing is, he hadn't even bothered calling the number. That's the thing that disappointed me. It wasn't that he called the number and they hadn't answered, so he'd give me the number and then no name. He just not bothered calling the number at all. So I looked at the name, looked at the number, and I realised it was someone that was on the site I was at. So I just gave it to the guy. I said to the guy that I was with on site, I've got a name here, does this mean anything to you? And immediately as I told him the name, he knew who it was. He went off into the office and came back, and we resolved what I was taking. So I didn't have to call the number in the end, because the guy that I'd found was really helpful. The shipper was not very helpful. The guy I was with in the pickup place was great. So I took my van back round to the shutters that I was originally gone to, and not the first one, not the dispatch office, but the shutters opposite. And then I waited, and then some guys came out, and I was explaining to them I was there for a pickup. And then some more guys came out, and then another guy who was a bit more formal, I suppose, that perhaps came across to be a bit more senior, sort of came out to me and didn't really say to me what he was there for. It was weird. He didn't say, "Oh, I know why you're here. Just be a moment, I'll get it for you." He just kind of questioned why I'd parked the way I was. I'd parked sideways because I thought it's one item on my side door, and he was saying he wouldn't fit on your side door. Can't you go in the back? And I said, "Yeah, sure, I'll move my van round." But it wasn't really explained to me. I'm not explaining it very well, but it wasn't really a very customer-focused interaction from him. It was like quite awkward and it's almost like, why are you parked here? Well, anyway, at this point, a load of people, about 3 people, came around the corner of the factory pushing this trolley. And I said, I think I'm taking that item there. So we kind of all gone. There's about 5 of them now, 5 of the people in the factory, all gathered around this machine on wheels, and it was probably about 2 meters long, about 1.5 meters high. Clearly, it wouldn't have gone my side door, but now I've seen it. So I just opened the back of my van. I turned it around by this point, and they were getting their forklift, but they had to get some longer forks to get it on. And the senior guy, or the one that sort of came across to be more senior, got on the forklift. But I don't think he was a forklift driver. He didn't seem very confident with it. Then we had 4 other people all offering advice about what to do with this thing. And I just thought I'm going to stand back and just let them do it. I was in my van. I just stood there, got the straps ready, and just waited for them to get this thing loaded on the van. I didn't quite understand what they were trying to do, because they put their forks through an angle and lifted this machine, which is on wheels. So the wheels would be sort of 3-4 inch size coaster wheel, caster wheels. Not massive stuff, but significant. And so they tried to put this thing on my van with the load and angle on the forklift, and it would go on, but it just took a lot of small turning, and lots of people telling the driver what to do, move it this way, that way, up and down. First wheel's on now, good. No, forward a bit. And second wheel's on now, excellent. Try and drag it off, couldn't do it. Move it around. It must have been, must have been about 20 minutes getting this thing loaded on. But once it was on, it was really easy just to roll it down the van next to the bulkhead, strap it down. It was quite a secure piece of kit, and um, and yeah, it was just a bit weird, really. The whole interactions at the start, trying to find the right place, and then get it on board. It took me 45 minutes from arrival at the gate to having it loaded in the end. And just the whole experience was not annoying. It wasn't too bad. It was just tedious. But, yeah, these things happen sometimes. And I put a lot of the blame down to the shipper not having the details. If I could have had the name of the machine I was picking up, or a description, or just anything else, all I had on the CX originally was a pickup address, a drop-off address, and that's it. The time, I suppose. It's just the basics. So in the end, all's well that ends well. I got my load on, got it strapped up, and I made my way away. Now, I want to explain what I think the issue was with that. As I said, it was, I think, the shipper's information. But let me be more specific. I think it's about the quality of the people that are employed by the shipper, because I got the impression they were quite young and not very experienced in logistics. I got the impression they were sort of in their early 20s, maybe their first job. They just didn't seem too engaged. I definitely didn't think they were drivers who'd done the job before. So it's to do with the training that they get, it's to do with their motivation package, it's to do with their oversight. So I now know the name of that shipper, and they're in my head going to be on the slightly negative side if I can cross them again. And I've said before that I like sort of family-sized shippers, and I think this shipper is. I don't think they're national. I don't think they're sort of that big. They're probably regional, I'm guessing. Maybe they have sort of. Well, I don't know what they have to be honest. But the impression I got was the people who served me on the phone, who gave me the job and who helped me, were not that interested in doing a good job. For whatever reason, I don't know. Maybe they had a bad day, maybe they were inexperienced, maybe they were new, maybe they were just demotivated, maybe they. Whatever. But the impression I get of that company is not good. It's not the sort of company I want to work with in the future if I can help it. Unfortunately, beggars can't be choosers, can they? And to be fair, in this job, you can kind of cope with that sort of poor quality service with a shipper, because usually you're collecting from a company or a person who wants you to do the job and is helpful, and the person you're going to wants you to do the job and is helpful. So the shippers can sometimes be irrelevant in some cases. In this case, I needed some information that they had, or they should have had, and I didn't get. So I hope that makes sense. That even if you have a bad shipper, you can get the job done because you've got a customer on either side that can help you. But you need the basic information about what you're carrying. So I wasn't even told it's a machine. This place produces. The place I went to produces palletized loads to go out to retail units. So it could have been anything. Right, I'll stop that little rant there. So I ended up in the end getting to Stockport. The traffic was quite bad. I was offloaded. At the other end, it was really quite simple. I mean, the highest thing was that to move. There was parking in the loading bay because people were parked in the loading bay. But I rang the bell, it didn't work. It's like a ring doorbell, and I rang it about 4 times. Nothing happened. I said, "Do not cross this line. Ring the bell." So when you're there, I thought, "Well, what to do now?" So I tentatively crossed the line, waved at people, tried to get some attention. I said, "I've tried the bell, it didn't work." It was fine. First thing he did was came up, pressed the bell, and it worked. So he got the forklift driver, and then I got it off really quickly. And then big long forks just came in, lifted it up, off really easy, really simple, straight along the machine at an angle. So I don't quite know why the first guy didn't mention it in the way he did, but I'm not forklift driver, so who knows. So just checking when I finished Stockport. I was out by 3:30 Stockport, and I was hoping that I'd have a chance to get another job at this point. And so I did look. There was a great job that I missed out on time, and also my bid wasn't good enough, which was going from Manchester to Norwich for the next morning. So it was a next morning delivery. And that would have gone straight past my home, so it would have been good. So yesterday, just some bids. I was bidding what I like to bid, which I think is probably quite high for most people. And I tend to find that if I'm bidding at the rate that I'm happy with, eventually I'll get a job. It might not be for a while. And there have been situations where I've been in places and there's been lots of work and I've not got a bid, so I've had to readjust my bidding technique. And part of the experience I'm getting is knowing at what point and how quickly to reduce my bid to get a job. I tend to still not want to go less than £1 a mile for any job. £1 per loaded mile. So let me bring you to my next job. So there was a job on there that was going from Hope Valley. I've never heard of Hope Valley. It was an S33 postcode, so near Sheffield. And it was going to Felixstowe. So it wasn't my preferred option, because that would take me a long way away from home. But there wasn't a lot else that I was winning. I put a lot of bids on, but wasn't else I'm winning. So eventually I came to the point where I put a bid on this one, and I was an hour and 10 minutes away from the pickup. And this would have been, by this point, it was around about 3:45, sort of 4:45. So I put a bid on, and then I quite quickly got a call back from the guy who's, and this is a little tip for you shippers: if you want me to do a job for you, call me by my first name when you ring up, because obviously it's RCX. He called me up and said, "Hi, is that X?" And I said, "Oh yeah, it is." He said who it was. So immediately we were on first name terms. So immediately I'm quite right. I like you. Yeah, I'll do what I can for you. And so I'm very easy. just be nice to me. I'll be nice to you. Anyway, so he said to me that he was struggling to get this covered and he needs to get it done, and he couldn't really afford to pay what I'd put on. Oh yeah, I put on a bid of £225, 225. The actual job was for a small van and it's going for 209 miles. So I put on 225 because I didn't really want to go to Felixstowe. That was a good sort of 2 or 3 hours back home afterwards. But I thought I'll put a bit on, and if I get it, I get it. And he called me and said that he didn't have as much money on that. He didn't have as much money on the bid, so he couldn't afford to pay that. And could I reduce it? So I just said, okay, what would you like me to reduce it to? And I'll consider that. And he said 205, 200. And I don't usually reduce my prices, but I thought he's asked nicely. It is a nice big job to finish my day. So why not? So I went for 205. But oh yeah, so sorry, I forgot something. The other reason he started this conversation saying, if I can pay you same day, can I reduce the price? That's the gambit he used, and I actually quite like that idea. Being paid very quickly is a really helpful thing for me at the moment. So actually, it's worth me. Is it worth 20 quid for me to do that? It's worth at least a tenner for me to do that. So 20 quid, yeah, I can't see why not. You know, it's still over £1 a mile, so I can't complain. So anyway, so we agreed that I would do that job. I was an hour and 10 minutes away from the pickup. I just made my way straight away towards S33, and then I was waiting for him to update the CX with the actual postcode. So I didn't have a proper ETA until I got the proper postcode, but I was on my way, sort of heading towards that postcode, that Sheffield area from Stockport. I was unfortunately just at that time, as it is another time around Manchester, stuck in quite heavy traffic. So although my Google Maps included that, it slowly went by a minute or two as I was stuck in traffic at Stockport. By the time I got the actual postcode and I was on the open road, it was more like 5 to 5 when I was due to get there. So I tried calling, just to let the shipper know that what time I'd be there, and it just went through the answer phone. So I just carried on going. Got a call back from the shipper at 4:45, and I was a quarter of an hour away from pickup, so I was going to be there just a tad after 5 o'clock, like a minute after 5. So I told him that, and then carried on going. And obviously by now it was quite dark. The other thing I forgot to mention is the route from where I was in Stockport to Hope Valley was across country, and there were these quite small lanes with brick walls. It's okay if you're on your own, but when another traffic comes past, you've got to be quite slow to get past them. But also, it's quite misty and foggy and dark, so I had to go a little bit slower than the percent I would have expected, which is why I ended up being there about 1 minute past 5. So, I arrived at the location. It was really dark. There was a vehicle outside. I parked behind the vehicle, went to the door, which didn't look like it was the goods in door, but I'd just try it. And it opened. So I called out. There were some lights on inside. Called out, no answer. Walked in, called out, kept calling out quite noisily. Kept walking a bit further, calling out. And then eventually got a voice saying hello. So I found this person, and I said, "I've come to collect." First thing he said was, "We can't collect this. Everyone's gone. Everyone went to 4:45." And my heart sank at this point. Not because it would have affected me overly. It's just that A, the customers are going to be let down, and B, I'm going to lose on a job. But I don't have at least don't have anything on board that I couldn't offload. So I said I'd call my boss, and I went out and called him, and he said I'll call the shipper. He said I'll call someone, get back to you. I thought, that's hopeful. I did have a reference number, but the guy that I spoke to just didn't really. He said to me, I don't know where everything is. I wouldn't know how to load it to you. There's no point in giving me any reference number. It wouldn't have helped me with him. So the shipper come back and said, the guy's there waiting for you. So this is really weird now. So it looked like there's only one person on site. So I went back and found him and said, I've just been told there's someone here waiting for me, but it's not you. Do you know where I need to go? So we walked all the way through the factory to the other end, which is actually where the goods in section was. So I was at one end of the factory, which is more the officey side, but it wasn't clear. There was no signage. The other end is more the goods in area. And I found someone there about to go home, and luckily he waited. So I thanked them both profusely, got my van round to the goods in, and we got loaded up. And I was so grateful both to the first guy for persisting with me and finding someone, and the second guy who stayed there to help to get this load on board. So it would have been about, I suppose, 5:15 by the time I'd finished and I loaded up. So I called the shipper and just said I'll put it all on CX, and called the shipper and told him I was on my way. So crisis averted. We resolved that, and I made it clear to both the guys how grateful I was that they'd stayed there, because it was I thought really good of them. So I made my way towards Felixstowe, and then the title of this video I'm going to call "I Had a Cunning Plan," or words to that effect. And this is when I got as far as Newark, so about an hour and a half into my journey, it was a 3.5 No, it was a 4-hour journey I was doing, and I had a cunning can. And it's not like me, because usually when I'm not very creative. I've said that before in my previous video. And if I've got a job to do, I just tend to just get on and do it. I get my head down and do the job. I don't tend to be able to see around the outside the box. When I was driving down, I was thinking, oh, this is a bit awkward. I've got to go to Felixstowe tonight, get there for about 9:30, then drive back and be home by about midnight. And I had to get home that night for a variety of reasons. Well, one main reason. And so I thought, well, what would I like to do ideally? And I remember him saying, the shipper saying I was taking the item to him, putting it in his van. So I rang him and said, are you accepting this item, or is it for someone else? And he explained it was for another customer in the morning. And I said, well, can I bring it to you in the morning instead? What time do you need to take it to your shipper? And he said, I need to leave about 7:30. So I said, I'll get there before 7:30, no problem at all. So we sort of agreed, and I reassured him that I would get there in time. And we sort of agreed that I would do that. And then he said, which I thought was a brainwave, would you want to deliver it directly? And I said, yeah, sure I will. And I think it ends up being better for both of us, because the actual place it's going to is Ipswich, which is closer to me than Felixstowe, and it's due to be there for 8:00. So I agreed that I would get it there before 8:00. That meant that I could then go straight home, and at this point I was only an hour and a half away from my home. I could sleep in my own bed and then leave early in the morning to deliver this item directly to the customer, not the shipper, in the morning. It didn't mean getting up early in the morning, but it was a really good solution, I thought, for both of us. So that's what we agreed. The only difference was, so the shipper had to give me the actual address that I was going to, and so change the CX system. But then he had to send me an email with a delivery note on, which I printed out when I got home, and I've got that with me now. So I got home a lot earlier than I was expecting to, and I managed to surprise my partner, who's not that well at the moment. And I got all my preparation done for this morning done last night. Sandwiches, had a shower, did the washing up, which has nothing to do with today, but it's sort of my job. And then I set the alarm for 5:00 and went to bed. Now, to finish off the story, I didn't sleep that well last night. I had a little bit of sleep. I woke up at about 4:30, had to go to the toilet, and then just got up. So I ended up leaving the house at just gone 5:00. So I'm due to be in Ipswich about 8:15. And I thought, the other reason why I think it's a good idea, so a good idea for 3 reasons, I think. 1, less mileage for me. I don't have to go all the way down to Felixstowe and back home. 2, I get to sleep in my own bed and spend less time at work. And 3, I'm going to be in Ipswich before and offloaded before all the work starts coming on. When I say all the work, I'm not expecting to be in much. I've been in Ipswich a couple of times before. I've always found it hard. That's been hard to find a job. That's always been during the day, like in the afternoon. I wonder what in the morning. I'm going to find out soon. So after I finish this video, I'll check CX. Right, that's my up to date. So I'm not going to put on the stats until the end of today. I'll do it over 2 days. But just to give you some idea, yesterday I did earn £185 for my first job from Boston to Preston, and £60 from Blackburn to Stockport, and I will be getting £205 for this job when I upload it at 7:45, let's say. So by that point this morning, 7:45, I would have earned £450 before expenses yesterday and this morning. Then I've got the rest of the day to see what I earn, and then I'll average it out over the 2 days. So if I get a job going any sort of distance from Ipswich, it's going to be a great couple of days. So I'm quite hopeful. Quite hopeful. Right, it's been so close. So, yesterday I was thinking what I'm grateful for. So this is for yesterday, and I would say I was thinking about being grateful for the fact that I've lived during the information age. The fact that computers became so prevalent. There are downsides sometimes to technology, but during my lifetime, the computer technology has come on, made life so much different. I'm used to it now, having a mobile phone, but I do makes me seem old. But if I was a kid, told as a kid, you'd be carrying a phone that you can do video phone calls with, or access any information around the world instantly, I would never have believed you. Also affordably and reliably. So I'm grateful for that technology, and specifically, I'm going to say I am actually grateful for the CX app. It is the best app for someone like me to do this job as a self-employed courier with no contacts within logistics. And it has enabled me, the CX app, to transition from an adjacent job that I didn't like to a job that I love. And I know there are downsides to CX, and there are other apps that exist, but I'm just taking one moment, one video, to recognise and be grateful for CX, because it has, for the positive, changed my life. And people who don't like CX, I'm not saying that you've got there's no issues with it, but sometimes you've got to just sit back and realise what you've got in your life. When I was growing up, if I'd known my life would be like this in this way, I'd done much sooner. It's really a good way of making a living. The CX app facilitates that, and it's a tool, and it's what you make of it that's important. So you can always complain about these tools and say they don't work or they're not good enough. Actually, for me, the CX app is brilliant. It works for me. And I think it's because I make it work for me, because of my character, because of my work ethic, because of just the person I am. I'm not the only person that makes it work for me, but that's what I think about the CX app. It's a really good tool, and I do thank and I'm grateful for people that have developed it. Right, thank you very much for listening to my video. I wanted to do a video where I had the sun rising during the video, and it's kind of happened, but it's too overcast to see the sun. I hope that you're successful in however you define that term. And what are you grateful for today?